Welcome. My name is Paul Boehnke. I'm a certified life coach, and I'm looking forward to talking with you about how greater purpose and joy can just become a normal part of your life. In this video series, we'll be talking about 7 gateways or perspectives that will give you the power to experience life any way you choose. You know, often we feel trapped by the circumstances of our lives. We can't seem to find a way out of those circumstances and into something different. But after learning about these gateways, you'll discover keys to moving past your current circumstances, whatever they are, and be able to engage in your life in completely new ways. Now, over the next 10 videos, we will get to know each of these gateways intimately, how they feel, how we can recognize them, and what we can do if you want to move from one to another. Plus, a video with examples of how these perspectives show up in real-life situations. Each video will be approximately 10 minutes long or so it'll be easy to digest. And for those of you who are interested, there's an online assessment available that maps out exactly how these gateways show up in your life and gives clues as to how you can change things to bring more purpose and joy into your own life. The final video will explore in more detail how this assessment works. Now, you'll be able to sign up for this assessment anytime you like, and I will include a link to make that easy with each video, including this one. So what's my story with these gateways? You know, when I first started learning about them, I started seeing them everywhere. And suddenly everyone's behavior began to make much more sense to me. And as I became better at recognizing these gateways in others, that's when I began to recognize them in myself. And that is the real power of this program, becoming aware of how we show up in our everyday life. Because when we're aware, we then can begin to making choices about how we want to respond to the situations. You know, I've actually made some pretty large changes in my life, changes which previously seemed pretty intractable. But it's these gateways that made it possible for me to find another way. And that's what I hope for you, is that the awareness you gain through these 10 videos will open up doorways to new possibilities that you'd never considered before. Now, most people would like to have more purpose and joy in their life, or at least let me say, I've never run into anyone who said, no thanks, I have all the purpose and joy I can stand. But what is it that we really mean when we say that? I believe that what we mean is that we are wanting to live more in tune with our true and authentic self. That may not be the conscious intention, but we know when we're not living in a way that honors our most authentic self. We know when there's something that's distracting or preventing us from the fullest expression of who we are. And if we sense this in a feeling of frustration or a lack of purpose or joy. These 7 gateways that we'll be talking about are really passageways that lead us back to our true authentic self. Now, I say back because when we were born, we lived in that state of oneness and authenticity. And as we grew, we learned habits or patterns of thinking, feeling, and behaving that, although they helped us cope with whatever situation we were experiencing at the time, in the end, they actually took us away from that state of oneness. And then we spend the rest of our lives trying to find our way back home. These 7 gateways can be used as a roadmap to help us on our return journey. They're not a magic formula, but rather signposts along the way that we can use to help us keep going in the right direction. Now, your journey is uniquely yours, and you'll find yourself reflected in these gateways in unique ways. But knowing the signposts can help you discover what your path back to your true self is. You know, sometimes these gateways or perspectives are also referred to as 7 energy levels. Now, energy is a tricky concept to really talk about because it's hard to define that word in a way that does justice to our experience. We feel energy all the time, whether it's high energy or low energy, whether it's energy that attracts us or energy that repels us. Mostly, we can sense energy through our bodies and our emotions. Our intellect is not so good at understanding what energy is about, because energy is really something to be experienced as opposed to understood. Now, thanks to the work of some quantum physicists, we are beginning to understand a little more about energy. Up through the time of Einstein, physics was mostly about particles and how they behaved. And we discovered that regardless of whether these particles were tiny, such as atoms, or huge, such as planets, those behaviors were predictable and the same, regardless of that size. But about a century ago, the mathematics of physics began predicting some rather strange things that just did not fit into the logic of particle physics, and certainly didn't fit into the logic that we experience on a day-to-day basis. Einstein stretched our understanding of time and space by showing that time and space are flexible in ways that can be difficult for our imaginations to grasp. And then along came quantum physics, and they showed us that when we look closely enough at subatomic particles, we actually can't find anything. Or rather, we can't see anything. What we do find are just small, little vibrating pockets of energy. They've taught us that all physical objects, including human beings, are actually made up of subatomic bunches of moving, vibrating energy. Everything in the universe, including us, is vibrating energy. We are energetic beings, and based on how we think, feel, and act, we are constantly experiencing and sharing energy. Now, the Heisenberg uncertainty principle reveals that as our perceptions of an object changes, that object literally changes. It also says that we can't observe anything in its natural state because the mere act of observing changes it. So what this means for us is that it's our perceptions and our energies that create our reality and experience, not the other way around. Now, I'm telling you all of this because I just want you to know that there's a scientific basis for talking about energy in this way, and that the quantum physics has made possible our high-tech world. Everything from transistor radios to the quantum computers Google and other companies are currently developing. And it's these 7 gateways that provide a great framework to us for understanding how we create our lives through the perceptions we hold. Now, throughout this video series, you will hear me use the words gateways, perspectives, and energy interchangeably, because really what we're talking about is a combination of all 3 of these things. And for the purposes of our discussion in this series, there's really only 2 kinds of energy that we really need to sort of keep track of. One is called anabolic energy, and the other is called catabolic. Now, anabolic energy describes energy that is constructive, expanding, fueling, healing, and growth-oriented. Using anabolic energy, it allows you to have a more complete and conscious view of what's going on around you, and to more easily come up with solutions and innovations. Catabolic energy, on the other hand, is draining, resisting, and contracting energy. Now, while catabolic energy can provide you with an energetic boost to combat what you perceive to be a stressful situation, it's also distracting and acts a bit like a blinder through which you can only see a limited view of a situation. Thus, this catabolic energy reduces the choices that seem to be available to you. Now, though it does offer some short-term benefits, when it's used on a long-term basis, catabolic energy imparts mental, emotional, and physical tolls that are potentially destructive to you, to your organization, and to all those around you. So now I have a little exercise that I would like to do with you, and I invite you to really play along, because if you simply watch this instead, you're not going to get the kind of experience that I would like you to have. All right? So here we go. Take your 3 fingers and place them in your side, just underneath your rib cage. Now, don't injure yourself, but I would like you to press hard enough that it's really uncomfortable. And just keep it there, being really uncomfortable until I let you know that you can take them out. All right? Okay. So now there are 7 gateways that we've been talking about. 2 of them are catabolic and 5 of them are an anabolic level. And the idea here is to learn how to use these perspectives so that they can work for you rather than against you. Now, the benefits of raising your consciousness using these gateways are many. You will help to inspire and motivate both yourself and others. You'll feel a greater sense of purpose, you'll get more done in less time, and you'll also attract success to you. You'll be able to make quick and accurate decisions, you'll reduce stress, you'll increase your engagement, and all other aspects of your life will improve as well. Okay, let's take those out. So, what was that experience like for you? Now, if you're like most people, you probably found it pretty hard to concentrate on what I was saying. That really what was happening is that you were much less aware of all the other things that were going on around you. And instead were simply aware of the discomfort that you were experiencing. That's what catabolic energy is like. It distracts you from everything that's going on around you and keeps your focus on the things that really aren't very helpful. Now, in the short term, of course, this can tell you that, gee, I have a thorn in my side and it'd be best if I'd get it out. But you can see in the long term that if you kept your fingers in your side the whole time, you would be far less aware and engaged in everything else that you do. As I've said, there are 7 of these perspectives that we experience each day in our life. And though we experience all of them, we do have tendencies or habits towards using or gravitating towards one or more of these energy levels. And we learn these habits and tendencies through all the experiences of our life. However, if we don't have some way of getting a reality check, some way of seeing ourselves from the outside, we react using these tendencies automatically and usually unconsciously. And in reacting in the same ways, we keep getting the same results and then wonder why things don't change. You know, Einstein is credited with defining insanity as doing the same things over and over again but expecting different results. Well, knowledge of these gateways can open up the possibilities for getting different results because it gives us options of how we could respond differently to situations we find ourselves in. Now, throughout this video series, we will talk about how none of these 7 gateways is better than another. They all have advantages and they all have disadvantages. Interestingly though, the people who tend to gravitate towards the lower, more catabolic energy levels, they tend to attract negative things into their life and they tend to react in negative ways. While those who tend to gravitate towards more anabolic levels, well, they find more ease, more opportunities, more power, and more success in their lives. But the good news in all of this is that regardless of where your particular habitual tendencies lie in terms of what energy levels you gravitate towards, regardless of that, we have the ability to change our interaction with energy. We have the ability to change the way we respond to life. We can learn new ways. And that's what this series is aimed at doing, is helping you see the possibilities and the opportunities that surround you so that you can make a conscious choice about how you want to live and experience your own life. So now you have an introduction to these 7 gateways and to this video series. And as I said earlier, the real benefit of learning about these is that it will increase your awareness of these 7 gateways and how they show up in your own life. Using these energy levels moves you along that path back to your core being, your authentic self. And it will bring you a deeper sense of purpose and joy. Knowledge of these 7 perspectives has changed the lives of thousands of people for the better, and I know that it can do so for you as well. Now, in the next video, we will dive straight into the first gateway. We will discover how it feels, how it looks, how to recognize it, and how to move out of it if that's what you want to do. Thank you for watching this first video in the series. I hope it has piqued your interest to engage with the next one as well. My name is Boehnke, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.